Hello, and an amazing day, everyone. I'm Rizalyn Kalimlim Rosales from the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies at the University of the Philippines Open University. Today, we'll be going over the first module in the course DEVC208 entitled Social Problems, Social Change, and Development. I am presenting the third part of this module. Earlier presenters have tackled what social change is, what social problems are, and the various types of social problems. So now we will be talking about how these social problems actually emerge on the public radar. Why do some issues become national headlines while others remain ignored? So, social problems don't just exist objectively, they are constructed through a process of definition and publicity. So, it's better if you check out part 2 of this module for more detailed discussion. For now, let's look at the screen. Here you can see the constructionist definition by Malcolm Spector and John I. Kitsuse. So think of it this way. Many issues are handled discreetly within small communities or government agencies. These are what we might call non-problems in the eyes of the public because they haven't reached their radar yet. But a social problem truly emerges when it moves from these quiet schemes into the public sphere. So to understand this emergence, we look at the natural history frameworks proposed by key sociologists. So it started in 1941 with Fullers and Myers, who gave us the three-stage foundation: awareness, which is recognizing the threat; policy determination, which is debating the fix; and reform, which is the actual action. So by 1971, Herbert Blumer shifted the focus towards collective definition. So here he argues that a problem isn't real until society labels it as one. He highlighted legitimation, that make or break moment when people in power finally acknowledge the issue, and mobilization, where different groups fight to control the narrative. And in the 2000 book published by Spector and Kitsuse, they took it a step further by focusing on claims making. So this is the literal shouting from the rooftops. They also gave us a reality check with their fourth stage, reemergence or alternative strategies. This happens when activists realize the government's response is insufficient and decide to create their own solutions outside of the system. And finally, here we have the modern framework by Joel Best. So as you can see on the screen, Best's model provides a more granular look at the social problems process. Unlike the older theories, Best accounts for modern technology. He describes how social media can act as a digital megaphone, rapidly rallying people to a cause, or conversely, how the government uses these same tools to promote programs. So looking at these frameworks collectively, one thing is clear. Everything begins with awareness and claims making. Of course, legitimation is also important, but this is the spark. It's the moment when a group of activists, a persistent journalist, or even a single brave individual starts shouting, "This is not okay. This is a problem that needs remedy." So when we talk about the public radar, we are talking about visibility. To get on that screen, you need publicity. Without it, even the most tragic problems remains a private struggle, hidden from collective consciousness. So how do we facilitate this move from the private to the public? So like in Best's model, media coverage and social media is crucial to reach broader audience to get public reaction. But more than just reporting, this is where our core communication theories come in. First, the agenda setting theory by McCombs and Shaw. The media tells the public what to think about. When we move an issue up the public view, we are effectively placing it on the radar screen. Today, this isn't just about formal news outlets. Our public radar is now heavily influenced by social media platforms, influencers, and citizen journalists who engage in real time public reporting. Think about the recent local issues like the resort in Bohol or the flood control issues. When these are highlighted by both media and digital influencers, they cease to be private grievances, and now that they are in the public radar, may be legitimized and become recognized as a significant social problems. Of course, not all of those things that are now in the public screen become legitimized and recognized as a significant social problems. And like the theory suggests, each sources can have their own agenda that they set when they report the story. Thus, just getting on the radar isn't enough. How we see the problem is just as important as seeing it. So now we go to the media framing theory by Goffman. According to this, framing is the process of choosing which specific aspects of a reality that they need to emphasize and present the information within specific context or frames. So think of it like a camera lens. Let me give you an example. The four P's. The four P's beneficiary. If we frame the poverty as the results of lazy individuals, the public looks for a remedy in behavior modification. But if we frame it as a result of a systematic economic barriers, we look for a remedy in policy change. So it's important that the frame we choose, it is the most critical step for us in DevCom because the frame dictates the path of social change we will follow. It determines whether we are just treating a symptom or actually curing a disease. So now let's connect the dots. How do these three concepts, social problems, social change, and development, interact? Think of it as a cycle. Social problems acts as the signal. They tell us the current development is either lacking or uneven. And social change is the engine. It is the movement that triggered by these problems. Through media, we make the problem known. Through framing, we define the solution. And through social mobilization, we execute the change. And development is the destination. But we need to be careful. Although according to the most people, development is the achievement of a better quality of life, but sometimes development creates a new problem. That's why we say it's a cycle. Sometimes if we focus too much on development, we would go back to social problems because either the development is too lacking or it becomes uneven. Rapid urban development might solve housing issues, but it might create environmental ones. So this would prompt us to have a new agenda setting phase, and thus the cycle begins again. So let me conclude. As DevCom practitioners, our mission is to ensure the right issues reach the public radar screen, framed in a way that leads to meaningful social change and sustainable development. So I'd recommend you guys to check out the other presenters of this module, part 1, social change, part 2, social problems, and the rest of part 3, who will be discussing the cases of emergence of social problems in the public radar. So thank you for your time. Here are some of the references and more reading materials on the topic. I would recommend you guys also checking these out. And I'd appreciate if we could get the discussion going. Let's look at this discussion forum questions that I left and drop by the forum for the answers. So leave your comment either on this video or on the rest of the forum. So once again, thank you very much.